It is Furahi Day and it's a very cold one. Thank you so much for tuning in to This Is The Day. We're live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio where the music does the talking. My name is Sarah Otieno. Today we're looking at the response of the reproductive bill that was presented by Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika. And also we will be looking at the COVID-19 statistics in our country. And today we have recorded the highest number. It is sad because yesterday we said the same thing, highest number, and today more cases have been reported. That and much more coming up during this hour. The WhatsApp number that you can use to text us from is 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316. Now let us start over by the Nakuru Senator bill. So the Senator Susan Kihika today convened a public hearing on the Reproductive Health Care Bill 2019. Catholic Church bishops recently faced off with civil society groups advocating for human reproductive health rights. In the hearing, the Senator went ahead to defend her bill, pointing out that there was a public hearing before and it even involved the members of the church. She promised that everyone's opinion towards the bill was listened to and taken to point.
Thank you. And these, by the way, for example, the Catholic Church, I believe they presented their views in March, back in March.
Yes. I just wanted to actually make a point of order. We had the Catholic Church gave their proposals in a meeting like this one. NCCK was represented, the Episcopal. Yes, that team also came. So we have had a wide range. We had over 40 sets of stakeholders, organizations. We had individual Kenyans who came in March when we were doing this process. As I have said earlier, we are repeating this process basically because it got renewed attention, because somebody saw this bill without knowing the process that it had reached. So, but we'll still do it. Consultations are never enough when they are needed.
Thank you very much. And I think, once again, that seems to be the misunderstanding. It seemed as though when we have passed the second reading and they did not hear maybe what their proposals or their views, they did not hear them being discussed. They assumed that we had thrown them away or did not take them into account. But I want everybody to know, every stakeholder to know, we are listening, we have been listening, and we shall continue listening until we come up with a good, acceptable reproductive health care bill.
Well, with regards to abortion, the representatives of the bill pointed out that taking it out of the bill would be a problem, and here is why.
When it comes to matters of issues of termination of pregnancy, sorry, Dr. Busire, but I'm going to have you go a bit quicker. Okay, thank you. Just the issue of termination of pregnancy, I think there's no way the Act can contravene what is in the Constitution. That's the lawmaking process. The Constitution remains supreme. We cannot, again, go beyond what the Constitution has provided. I'm though drawn to the comment that I have heard that the issue of termination of pregnancy for mental or physical disability has posed a problem. I would like to make it very clear that we do actually terminate pregnancy on those terms. And to take it out of the Act would be a problem. This is because there are babies who are formed with such severe malformations that they are not going to actually survive outside of the womb, even if they make it to term and they are born. For instance, anencephaly, which is a very common problem, where the child develops but the brain does not develop. The only reason that baby is alive is because they are getting all their nutrition and oxygen from their mother.
Well, these representatives for the bill, actually led by Susan Kihika, the senator, are saying that doing away with abortion in that bill is out of the picture, despite the cries and pleas from different representatives to actually do away with it, and also the church leaders. They're saying that is not possible. So I want to hear from you. Do you think it is right to totally scrap off the abortion part of that bill? off the bill completely. The bill is actually the Reproductive Healthcare Bill 2019, and that part of abortion, some are saying it should be scrapped off, while the representatives are maintaining that it should not. What are your views on that? 0786 316 316. That is on WhatsApp, SMS line 20316. Send in your views about this bill, and especially the abortion part of it. Well, the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Kenya has risen to 9,448. That is after 473 more people have tested positive of the virus. Health Cabinet Secretary CS Mutahi Kagwe said the announcement, he actually made that announcement in Kilifi today, noting that it was a newly daily high for Kenyans, with 457 cases of the living virus reported yesterday. So there has been an increase. While touring Kilifi County today, Kagwe, who has been touring counties to assess the level of preparedness, also reported that 76 more patients were discharged, raising the total number of recoveries to 2,734.
Today, our numbers of those who have tested positive have continued to rise above what we recorded yesterday. Out of a sample of 6,979, nearly 7,000, a total of 473 people have tested positive to coronavirus disease just in the last 24 hours. This takes our caseload to 9,448 for the positive cases from a sample of 206,584. 324 are male, while 149 are female. The youngest is 1-year-old infant, while the oldest is 90 years old. On a positive note, though, today 76 patients have been discharged from various hospitals, bringing our total recoveries to 2,733. Unfortunately, today we have also lost 8 patients to the disease, bringing the cumulative number of fatalities to 181.
Well, 181 people have succumbed to COVID-19 so far, and today having 8 people dying because of the virus, and one of them is actually a frontline worker, one doctor who was about 39 years old, and they're saying he had an underlying condition. Well, the CS took time to mourn this doctor.
I'm deeply saddened by this particularly, so because she contracted the virus while working to save lives of others who had contracted the virus. She was admitted at the Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, from where she passed on early this morning. And a sad day, particularly for doctors around the country, and to say that God will protect the family and provide for the family, but more importantly is for us to pray that our healthcare workers, our first-line soldiers, are saved because of the actions that we take, but also because of the protection that the Almighty will give them. And I would like, Governor, if we could stand in silence for just 1 minute in honor of the fallen doctor.
Well, that was a moment of silence for the doctor that was actually putting her life in danger just to make sure that other people are safe. But now she was a victim of COVID-19 and she succumbed to it. Well, the CS also noticed the brilliant minds that are behind KEMRI, and he said that Kenya might just be amongst the first countries to find a vaccine for COVID-19.
Congratulate the team that is working here in Kilifi, in Welcome Kilifi. Welcome KEMRI, KEMRI Welcome Kilifi, because they are doing a fantastic job. It is my first time in that facility. I was totally impressed. It's a world-class facility, with world-class brains, world-class minds, and it actually puts us to shame when sometimes we are looking for people to come from UK or South Africa or some other places like that, because, you know, we kind of don't understand, and we don't take note, and we don't appreciate our own. We really don't. That's what I have seen today. We don't need to consult wazungu kutoka mbali. Wazungu wetu wako hapa Kembli na wanangozi kama hii yangu. That's who they are, and they are doing a fantastic job. And in fact, I was very impressed to see some of the work that is going on there involves the creation of a vaccine. And we have got some very smart people there who we hope are going to come up with one soon.
Wazungu wetu wako hapa Kenya na wanangozi kama hii yangu. And we pray and hope that with the brilliant minds we might be able to come up with a vaccine very soon to avoid the spreading of this virus that is taking a toll in different parts of the world. Well, Remy Kipchirchir, thank you so much for tuning in today. Alice wa Machakos na kuona, asante sana for tuning in. Good evening. On the issue of abortion, we cannot play God and terminate a pregnancy simply because we feel like the child will not have a good quality of life, because the truth is some people find these special needs children a burden and want a way out. Call it what it is, murder. Thank you so much for tuning in. You did not tell me your name. Thank you so much, Lakini, for tuning in today. Remember, we're asking the question, and this has been raised by the representatives of the Maternal Health Care Bill 2020, the Reproductive Health Care Bill, that is 2019, that was presented by Senator Susan Kihika, that the abortion part of that bill cannot be done away with, despite the concerns that have been raised by different people in different forums about that bit of the bill about abortion, and we want to hear your views on that. We are talking about the part of the bill presented by Senator Susan Kihika on abortion, and the representatives are saying the abortion part cannot be done away with. So what are your views? Joseph from Kiserian unasema, abortion should not only be read in the dictionary. I think we should be aware if we feed a chicken, there is a probability of it laying eggs. If we don't want the egg, let's not feed the chicken. Sexual intercourse is the issue, not the infant. That's why my favorite quote will always remain, the more you learn about the world, the lesser you understand it. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Rose, and you're saying, I missed you courtesy of the lockdown, but I'm back now. Tuned in from Thome Garden Estate. Asante sana, Rose, for tuning in today. Lavi, you're also locked in from Kware Old Kangundo Road. Asante sana. Your name is John. Thank you for responding to the messages. And we also have someone on the SMS platform who said, good evening, Sarah. I'm Edwin Mwangi from Endarasha in Nyeri. The playlist is great. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember to also send in your feedback. Now, the Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has asked private schools to carry on with online studies while the government continues to engage with stakeholders in the education sector for expansion of digital classes. Speaking in Eldoret while inspecting school projects within the area, the CS called on parents to find means of keeping their children in books, even if it means organizing children with specific area with a teacher for a continuity of classes.
This issue of people thinking that since the government said there will be no face-to-face learning for now, it doesn't mean learning has stopped. Yes. The government is still going to engage both internal and external stakeholders so that we intensify online training. So this idea that, now everything should be stopped because there is no learning, and this even goes to private schools. Let them continue. Their teachers should continue to provide learning for children. Beyond that, none other than His Excellency the President told us the other day when we were together, in an estate like this one, if there are children and there is a teacher, you organize the children and keep social distance and teach them. Sure. And the example he gave us, even of he himself teaching a child to create a small farm. So let us not have this idea that we have stopped the clock. No, the only clock that has stopped is face-to-face in the schools because of the challenges. I think that should be very clear.
Well, C.S. Magoha said that let us not assume that we have stopped the clock. The clock that has stopped is only the face-to-face clock. And he says parents actually must make sure that they engage their children when it comes to education and keeping them in check education-wise while they are at home. I would also want to know, how are you making sure that your children are reading or even staying with their books during this COVID-19 time? That is one thing that has become a challenge for most parents. And talking of that, the Wiper Democratic leader Kalonzo Musyoka has asked parents to take a more responsive approach towards their children now that they are at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Wiper leader advised that the responsibility of children's discipline, counseling and bringing them up is squarely on the parents, while the role of the teachers is simply to teach.
And I think this is important that we tell parents, please recognize teachers are there to help educate your children. But it is you as parents who should be able to talk discipline, talk counseling, bring up your children. In fact, Walimu now should have thrown the ball back to the parents. That is, we will do the best we can to teach. But also parents, you have a responsibility. Therefore, Kenyans are looking forward to hearing less in terms of teenage pregnancies during this pandemic and other social ills which are associated with juveniles committing offenses.
Well, that is the take of the Wiper Democratic leader Kalonzo Musyoka. And Mark Otieno texted in, "Praise God, Sarah. The abortion clause should be removed entirely. Life is sacred and no unborn child should be assisted to die on presumptions that he or she would not survive outside the mother's womb. If they should die later in life, it should be natural and not induced death. I find the reasoning quite absurd and disturbing. Even patients in their very critical condition and normally supported until the last breath, when their organs finally shut down naturally without being killed." So Mark is saying it is wrong to actually have that bit of abortion in the bill that wants to be passed or is proposed by Nakuru Senator. I'm also waiting for your response. And talking of abortion, we have been talking about teenage pregnancies for quite some time. And around 850 girls get pregnant in a year, with most of these pregnancies being unwanted. And this is according to a report by one Sauti Sasa Youth Initiative and Amref Health Africa. Speaking to the members of the press earlier today, Josephine Adhiambo, a youth advocate from the initiative, called upon policymakers, parents, teachers and religious leaders to engage young people in the development and implementation of processes in the fight to end teenage pregnancies. Listen in.
Expansion of the sexuality education curriculum currently being developed and reviewed by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development into the broader community construct and promote ownership among parents, guardians, religious leaders and older peers by orienting them and spread the message of sexual responsibility among adolescents. More investment in advocating against harmful cultural practices, including female genital mutilation, early marriages and bidding, that have contributed to high rates of teenage pregnancy in a number of regions and have proven to be detrimental to the girl child development.
Well, teenage pregnancy is still one of the major issues in our country. And with these statistics, it's actually sad, you know. And we need to look into this. And according to that group, it's the responsibility of all of us, you and I included, to make sure that these cases do not increase in the near future. Well, one thing that we also forget to do is take care of our brothers, being your brother's keeper. What does it really mean to be your brother's keeper, and how can we do that as Christians? Earlier on, I had a chat with one Pastor Jonathan Steve Mwangi, and he gave me a good definition. So listen in. Pastor Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll start by asking, what does it mean to be your brother's keeper?
The first thing is that the question that God asked of Cain in the Bible was, where is your brother? And Cain's answer was that, am I my brother's keeper?
Keeper, yes.
Keeper, and that is where that phrase brother's keeper came from. So it's obvious that God was interested in knowing whether the welfare of his brother was good, and that there was a sense of responsibility that Cain had concerning the welfare of his brother. Of course, we know he failed later by actually going ahead out of jealousy to kill his brother, and that was the first murder. But actually, we have to be people who are responsible for one another, not just brothers in the sense of siblings by blood, but in the sense of all the brotherhood of humanity. And that is also implied by Jesus when he gave the commandment that we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves.
Okay. Well, I get your point.
So the standard is, if you don't like something being done to you, then you should not do it to other people. So you become the standard, right?
All right. Well, I like that definition. And looking at our society right now, what are some of the things that we can do to show that we are taking care of our brothers, so we're keeping our brothers safe and doing to them what we want done to us, like you defined?
Right now, we are having a crisis that is global, caused by the coronavirus, which is a pandemic that has affected all nations of the world. It has equalized all nations in the sense that all of us are in danger. And therefore, if there is a time where that phrase is important, being our brother's keeper, it is now. Because we have been told from scientific data that if we do certain things, then it will reduce the chances of us being infected. So if I do it for myself, and then I also do it with consideration of my brothers, then I can actually stop this pandemic from continuing. So it's a very interesting scenario, because what we are being asked to do is very simple. It is put on a mask, keep your hands clean, wash them with soap, or use sanitizers where you can't get, and keep a certain distance from one another. So it may mean changing my culture. Where I normally hug people, I have to stop hugging, Where I normally like to shake hands, I have to stop shaking hands. Not forever, but just to make sure that the chances of infection are reduced. So there is an absolutely fantastic opportunity for us to be our brother's keeper during this season.
All right, and is there a time where maybe it gets overboard? Like you stop being your brother's keeper when maybe you feel like it is not appreciated, and is it right to do that?
Well, everybody thrives best when they are appreciated.
Yes.
If someone comes and says you have a beautiful smile, or you have a nice watch, or your suit is very smart, there's a way it affects you that makes you just feel like, I want to continue looking smart. So appreciation will always be a motivating factor. Nevertheless, the same scriptures that we are just quoting, Jesus says to us that when people do things to us which make us feel unappreciated, we should leave that matter to God. There are a few examples. For example, if someone despitefully uses you in Romans chapter 12, you should just pray for them if somebody curses you, you should bless them. If your enemy does something bad to you, you should actually reply with good things. You know, for example, if he's hungry and you know he's your enemy, feed him. If he's thirsty and you know he's your enemy, give him water to drink. Those are attitudes which are very, very unselfish. They consider others better than ourselves. And then where it comes to, doing good things for people and they are not appreciating, even some of our singers have said, tenda wema, nenda zako. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Pastor Jonathan, for joining us today and for defining brotherhood for us and how we can be our brother's keeper. We really appreciate that.
Right.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Well, that is Pastor Benjamin Steve Mwangi from God's Mercies Ministry International, telling us that we can be our brother's keeper, and especially during this pandemic, but just making sure that you protect yourself from getting the virus and also protect your brother from getting it from an infected person. Literally wearing your mask, washing your hands, sanitizing, and making sure that you maintain social distance. Think about that. We all have a lot to learn from that. On Facebook, Johnny, I can see you. Hamza Mukami, you're saying, I look good in braided hair. Thank you so much. Wilfred Ochieng, asante sana. Timothy Igamba, Sarah Muridhi, Timothy Igamba Tena, Paul Brown, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. And on the discussion that we are having, well, hi, Sarah, my take on the abortion is on that, abortion is a sin. I think we should just have teaching in school and church about sexuality. This is Faith. Asante sana, Faith, for your response. We also have Remy tuned in. Abortion should be done away with in the reproductive bill. It is something that can be done away with. Also, I learned yesterday. Let me get this. All right. Hence, we need a proper guidance when it comes to protecting mothers while they are pregnant, during their pregnancy. In short, it's about protecting the life of the mother and wanting to put the safety a priority in a long run and not the safety of the child. Also, I learned yesterday on how one needs to protect your eyes. Yes, as we continue to be engaged with so much activity, we can limit the amount of use of our phones, iPads, laptops. Hence, when we avoid too much concentration on our screens, then we will have a healthy eyesight. This is a good student from the discussion we were having yesterday. You're enjoying the show. This is Paris. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you're saying, about that bill, I think there is an ill motive behind it. Why would one want to pass it, knowing very well that killing is wrong? Good question there. S is saying, I've heard one of the people in Kihika's team say that termination of pregnancies actually takes place medically approved, even without the bill. So why include it in that bill? So this is actually one of the concerns that were raised earlier. Some of these clauses that are put in the bill, they're not easy to understand, and that is why they pass even without the knowledge of those who are supposed to make sure that it is scrutinized before passing. Well, let's talk about cancer patients and the restriction of movement and the freedom of travel during this pandemic has actually been denied to cancer patients. And they're not only not accessing medical help, some of them are not actually having help when it comes to their food and also their basic needs. So there is one group, and this is in conjunction with the Nyeri County through the First Lady's Office, Margaret Kenyatta. They today came out to help cancer patients in that county and provide for their needs. Listen in.
And because of their vulnerability and the fact that their immunity is greatly compromised with the corona issue, they have had to, a lot of them are struggling at home. So they reached out to us, and then I reached out to, of course, the office of the First Lady and the Hardy Trust and MoFam and a few of my friends, and we came up with this initiative. We will be taking food to their doorsteps.
Tunapeana chakula mingi sana na misaada mingi inaenda, lakini kuna watu wale bado hawajapata zile misaada. Tuko nao watu wana saratani, tuko na watu wako na HIV positive bado wako manyumbani, tuko na mama wazee, tuko na watoto wa hatima, tuko na watu wako na disability, bado watu hawajafikiwa na hizi misaada. Kwa hivyo mimi ningetaka kuomba watu wale wanapeana misaada, kabla tuangalie watu wengine wote, tafadhali tuanze na watu wale bado wako manyumbani na wako na what we call terminal illnesses.
What we will do today is just flag off, and then we will do a door-to-door delivery between ourselves, national government, and of course the hospice will be able to do a door-to-door delivery.
Well, and also in relation to that, the government actually has the Older Persons Cash Transfer Program that is supposed to help the elderly persons to at least make sure that their ends are met during this time of the pandemic. Well, some of these people, the elderly persons, do not get this money simply because they are swindled by their own relatives. It's very sad. And there is a 76-year-old Farida Odeda who lives in one village, Obekai village in Teso, Busia County, and is a beneficiary of the Inua Jamii initiative. However, she's not given this money because she says the relatives are in charge of how she gets the money, and most time it doesn't even get to her arms. Listen in.
Nakula tu hiyo pesa nikikuja naye hapa nyumbani kwa sababu ninajua huyu pia ni mtoto yake last born. Siwezi kumnyima kitu kidogo kwa sababu yeye pia ako kwa mimi nikitoka mimi nafanya jua kali. Sasa yeye niko sokoni. Hata yeye hapa nyumbani ndio ako karibu sana kushughulikia upande ya mama, kuangalianga mama jinsi ilivyo kwa nyumba.
Aligawa msichana yake mkwe, akagawa mimi, akagawa ndugu wangu Lubino, akagawa ndugu wangu Bara. Hakuwa ananunulia uchocho vitu. Sasa ndio sasa mimi nikafanya na magani, nikaenda kuripoti kwa Luguru. Ndio nikaenda kwa assistant chief. Ndio sasa wakaita inisha yeye huko. Alafu sasa ndio wakafanya namna gani? Wakanipea hiyo vitu juzi. Ndio sasa nikachukua pesa, nikahudumia vile alikuwa anatakana, vile walikuwa wananielezea hapa.
Wamepata pesa kwa miezi 5. Kwa hiyo miezi 5 hatujawahi ona mabadiliko ya hiyo pesa kwa hiyo mzee. Akipata pesa kazi yake ya kwanza ni pombe, sigara na pangi.
Well, and these concerns actually made people want to help her, and it attracted a lot of responses from different people. But it's not only in Teso County, it's across the country. We have elderly people being swindled of their money from the government by their own relatives. And this is something that needs to be looked into. Well, talking about the elderly, so imagine being attacked, pulled to the ground, and then beaten thoroughly. Well, this is the situation that a 70-year-old woman waiting for a bus in Brooklyn in the USA found herself in. Her attackers beat her with her own cane, took off her sneakers, and tried to grab her purse. That is literally robbing from this old lady. Her name is Elba Fuentes, and she was leaving a fruit market in the afternoon when out of nowhere the suspected attacker came from behind. She had had 2 knee replacement surgeries and had to use her cane to walk. Now Elba tried to shield her face on the crowd, and the crowd grew after a while, and a good Samaritan actually saw the commotion and came to her aid.
She grabbed me for the back, like this one, to the back. She threw me face down to the floor. She started kicking me right here, this elbow. She took out my sneakers. She grabbed my purse, and I started screaming, "Please help! I need help! I need help!" I'm so grateful. Those are still good people in this world. That's what I always say.
Well, that is very sad there. A woman who just had surgery and her kneecap replaced, then being beaten up and her sneakers robbed off with her own cane that is supposed to aid her in walking. That is very sad there. Well, but we're going to end this show with some positive news. Well, the frontline workers who are the first responders at Kaish Premanit Doni Medical Center that is in California have been working around the clock since the pandemic began. And every day after their long and the 12-hour shift, they leave, but there is always been one constant one. Well, the security guard, his name is Robert Johnson. Since March, when the pandemic started, Robert has waited for the doctors, nurses, and the staff as their shift change to celebrate them and honor them with his hands in the air, cheering and elbows bumps and smiles that left them smiling. He just took off his mask kidogo to smile to these nurses, and that changed their lives.
You have the power with a smile to change a person's life. So if a person is feeling down or exhausted, you can bring life into their life. I want them to know, look what you've just done. You've just completed 12 hours of work. Let's rejoice.
Hi, David. Just seeing him just gave me that extra boost to get home. Hang in there. They're not alone. All the hospitals are going through the same thing. Keep positive. Stay positive as much as you can.
Oh, and that way you know that you can change someone's life just through a smile. And even with your mask, you know, when you have a genuine smile in your heart, it can actually be felt through that mask. Try that and know that you will change someone else's life. Hi, Sarah. I'm enjoying the show. Abortion is a crime. We need to accept that larger percentage of Kenyans are hypocrites when it comes to sex education. At the same time, most parents neglect their duties of parenthood, hence the high number of teenage pregnancies. This indicates that most parents depend on teachers and schools for the upbringing of their children. This is Ababu. Ababu, asante sana for that point that you've put across. What's your name? Sam. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember that video that we've played just before we end this show. Remember to put a smile on someone's heart just through your smile.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.